What is going on, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another Let's Talk Crypto. I am your host, Bitcoin J, and this is episode 28. Today we're going to be discussing a bunch of different things. We're going to be looking at some headline news, what's been going on, the big things that have been affecting the market. We're going to look at the economic calendar, of course, and then we're going to do an analysis on Bitcoin. Mainly Bitcoin, as always, that's what we focus on because for the most part, everything else follows Bitcoin. So that's what we'll be focusing on during our analysis. So in the analysis, we're going to cover a few things we've talked about before, like the double bottom pattern. We're going to talk about Uptober. It is officially October. We ended September actually in the green. As you guys know, September is historically Bitcoin's worst month. And we're gonna talk about a possible the $28,000 resistance area that we're currently being rejected at, and how it could potentially be a deviation to trap some liquidity. What we're watching and how you can potentially play this area depending on what happens with the price. So we'll be looking at those different things in today's live stream on today's show. So let's go ahead and dive right in. Let's start off, as always, I always like to start off with the prices to see overall, kind of get a view of where the market is overall. So let's take a look here at Bitcoin. You can see over the last week, Bitcoin's up over 4%. Ethereum's up over 2%. So as you can see, Ethereum is lagging it a little bit. However, it was up a lot more. Ethereum was up about $100 more. It was around $17.50. But it's come down a bit over the last few days here. You can see, let's see what else is going on in the market. Anything that stands out, XRP is up over 5%, and we'll talk a little bit more about XRP, but there was some news that came out yesterday. I tweeted it out. You can see Solana is one of the bigger winners in the last week, up over 20%, currently sitting at $22. We have Cardano up almost 5% at 25 cents. And we have Polygon Matic up over 11%. So those are some of the ones that stand out in the top 25 coins. If we look at the overall top 100 coins to see what the biggest winners and losers are, Bitcoin up 33%, Trust Wallet up over 20%, Solana up 20%, we just spoke about, Bitcoin SV up 19.8%, and Gala up 15.5%. On the top losers, we have Radex down 15%, Toncoin down 10.2%, Terra Luna Classic down 9.2%, Curve down 7.5%, and Frax Share down 5.5%. So now that we've kind of taken a look at where the market is as far as that, let's take a look at the economic calendar, see what's going on here. As you can see, there hasn't really been too much this week. What we did get this week was on Monday, we got Jerome Powell, a Jerome Powell speech. I'm not sure if that played a part into why Bitcoin began to fall, because before the speech, Bitcoin was up over $28,000. After the speech, Bitcoin was below $28,000. So that could have played a part. And looking over the rest of the week, today is Wednesday. Nothing too big here that stands out to me. Let's see, tomorrow we have a few more people from the Fed that'll be speaking there. We have some jobless claims, and then on Friday we have the unemployment rate. Now, unemployment rate could impact the overall markets, which could have a direct effect on the DXY and on Bitcoin. So something to just kind of keep in mind. I unless it's something, very, very far from consensus, I don't think it's going to impact or bring too much volatility into the markets. But just something to keep an eye on. Let's take a look at the next week. So next week, October 12th, that's in what? Yeah, so that's going to be next Thursday. So next Thursday we have the core inflation. So inflation reports are coming back out on Thursday. So that's going to be something that could potentially bring some volatility, a lot of volatility into the markets, depending on how that report comes out. Right now, there's no consensus yet. I don't see the consensus yet on the core inflation rate year over year. The previous one that came out was at 4.3%. Currently, there's no consensus that I currently see here. So we'll catch up on that next week when we do our live stream. As the other thing is the interest rate hikes. That's usually the other thing that on a monthly basis brings some volatility into the market. As you'll notice, there is no interest rate hikes in October. However, there is interest rate hikes on the 1st. So the 1st of November, there will be the next meeting where they make the decision. If we look here at the target rate probabilities for the 1st of November, which is the next meeting, you can see that right now the market is predicting that there will again be a pause and there will be no interest rate hikes. So that's currently where the market overall is sitting at. We're not expecting another rate hike here in November. We're expecting another pause. So from here to then, if anything might change, it will get priced into the market. So if for any reason it comes out and the market starts believing that there will be another rate hike, we'll most likely see it here, and that will get priced in. So we would potentially see prices in the overall markets probably drop a bit if that were to come out or if that were to happen, right? So that's currently where we're at. If we look onto the next meeting, which would be the final meeting in December, once again, right now the highest probability is for a pause in December as well. And it looks like the same thing for January, March. I'm trying to see when the market might be expecting a rate cut. So it looks like in March is the highest probability for that first rate cut. It's at 31% right now. In June, that goes up to 36%. So they're expecting by June potentially a rate cut. And I'm sure if we continue going, we'll continue seeing these percentages, these probabilities going up. So you can see here by September of 2024, market is expecting potentially 2 rate cuts by then. And for November, markets December of 2024, market is expecting potentially 3 rate cuts. So again, rate cuts would be very, very bullish overall for the market. And that means things will go up. And that's why we're expecting 2024 and going into 2025 as well, a bullish overall year for all markets, not only crypto and Bitcoin. Talking about 2024, if we're going to be talking about that, one thing that we need to, of course, be aware of, Bitcoin halving date. It is in 2024. Let me see if I can get the clock. Here's the countdown. So the Bitcoin halving clock, there is 195 days, 15 hours, 38 minutes, 7 seconds until the next halving. So it's expected to be on April 17th, 2024. So that's about 195 days away. Again, that's usually a very, very bullish event for Bitcoin overall, and that's usually when we really see prices start to take off in the crypto markets. So let's go ahead and take a look at some headline news this week. The main things that were popping up here was that Grayscale files with the SEC to convert Ethereum Trust to spot ETF. So that's in part why we saw Ethereum. You can see that Ethereum on Monday, the same day that this report came out, it ran all the way up to $1,775. So $1,775 with that report, and then the very next day, that entire move got basically retraced all the way back down. So that's the thing with these big moves like this. A lot of the times, they're going to get retraced right back down. So a lot of times when we see these overextended moves, the best plays are usually to open a position in the opposite direction. And those tend to be very profitable if you catch them at the right time. And then the next thing that we saw here was the judge rejects the SEC's motion to appeal Ripple XRP ruling. So what exactly does this mean? If you guys remember, back in, let me see, when was it? Do I have a date here? It doesn't show the date here, but about a month or so ago, the judge ruled that basically in favor of Ripple in saying that it was not considered a security when traded on basically on platforms, on exchanges. So the SEC, of course, that was a big blow to the SEC. And when that report came out, we remember that XRP, if we kind of go back here, it went all the way up almost to $1, right? It went all the way up to 93 cents. And then it retraced that entire move. Just like we spoke about on Ethereum's move Monday, right? A lot of times when price gets overextended, the best play is to play it in the opposite direction. And you can see that would have been a very profitable trade. So yesterday we saw XRP's price once again go up. It was up 5% yesterday. We're seeing now price go down a bit today. But that was basically because of that news, right? So the SEC tried to appeal the ruling that was basically against them by the judge, and the judge rejects the SEC's motion to appeal that ruling. So that ruling is now going to stand, and that's going to be a big victory for the crypto industry overall. You can see here, okay, so it was in July. The federal court reached a verdict in July that Ripple XRP was not a security, a major win for the crypto industry. The victory also signaled a weakness in the SEC's attempt to regulate the crypto industry. The SEC proceeded to file an appeal against Ripple XRP and the ruling, and that's what got rejected. So according to the official court order, the court also rejects the SEC argument that the questions presented are controlling questions of law because the certified issues have precedential value for a large number of cases. So a spokesperson for the SEC and Ripple have yet to comment on the latest ruling. Both the SEC and Ripple must submit motions to Lemine for a jury trial by December 4th of this year. The jury trial will be held sometime in Q2 of 2024. So that is a big win overall for crypto, and something that we need to watch for as that goes to trial in 2024. Another blow to Gary Gensler, and he just continues to look ridiculous, right? So now that we've covered the main headlines news that I wanted to cover today, let's go ahead and jump into the Bitcoin analysis to see pretty much where things are overall with crypto, with Bitcoin, and what I'm watching, what I'm keeping an eye on, etc., etc. And I want to start it off with this thread that I did on Twitter today. I did this on Twitter and I did this on Threads. If you guys want to check that out. So basically, this is part of the in-depth analysis that I do every Monday in our Discord group. I do basically a breakdown from the monthly time frame, weekly time frame, and daily time frames. And this is in this thread, I basically break down kind of the middle, right? The weekly time frame. And so you guys have an idea of how it is that I'm analyzing the market and what it is that I'm looking at. So an interesting thing here was that on Monday, when we had the big move up here, right? This was on Monday, this move up here. I was interested. One of my favorite plays to make when trading is when I have something like this where we break above a previous resistance, especially when it's a major resistance, and then get a retest of that resistance. So initially, when I saw that, I was like, all right, I'm opening a long on a retest here, because once we get this retest here at 28, we can potentially consolidate there for a bit and continue up higher. However, when I analyzed it further, it kind of brought me to a different conclusion, and that's kind of what we'll look at here. We'll talk about here today. So the main thing here is Bitcoin ended September with a rally into $27,000, which on the first day of October went on to $28,000. So looking at the chart here, and if you're listening to this in the podcast, basically the last day of on the 28th of September, we rallied all the way up above 27,000, kind of consolidated there for the next few days. And then on the first day of this month, we broke above 28,000 for the first time since back in August. So that was a big move there. That it's the highest price that we've seen since back in August. So it was very, very bullish, right? Now, another thing here, if we look at, let's put up Bitcoin monthly returns here real quick so I could bring up this chart. Remember that we spoke about last month that September was historically one of the most bearish months for Bitcoin. So we actually finished in the green. Now, it wasn't a super green month, but we did finish up on the month of September. The Bitcoin's price ended up being up 3.91% on the month. Now we're coming into October, aka UPTOBER, which is historically one of Bitcoin's most bullish months. As you can see over the last few years, and just if we go all the way back to 2013, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So without counting this year, we have 10 years of data here. And out of the 10 years, only 2 of those years has Bitcoin's price gone down in October. Hence the name, right? So looking over the last few years, we can see back in 2020, Bitcoin's price went up 27%. In 2021, Bitcoin's price went up 39%, and this is just in the month of October. Last year, Bitcoin's price went up 5.5%. So now we're coming into October, currently up about 1.5%. So just kind of setting the overview here of what we could potentially be looking at in October, right? One of Bitcoin's most bullish months. Also, if we look at the quarterly returns for Bitcoin, we can see that the fourth quarter is usually the most bullish month for Bitcoin as well. You can see that the third quarter is usually one of Bitcoin's worst months historically, right? It looks like the first quarter and the third quarter are usually bad months for Bitcoin. Second and fourth are usually typically pretty decent months for Bitcoin. That's pretty much what that looks like right now, historically speaking. So now going back to the Twitter thread, the main questions here when I was looking into and when I was analyzing the chart was, first of all, are we seeing a breakout or a deviation above range highs to trap liquidity? Right, and also, I'm still keeping an eye on the double bottom pattern that nobody seems to be talking about on Bitcoin's chart. So, we're gonna talk about support and resistance levels, chart patterns, liquidity levels, imbalances, and wick fills, which all help us kind of determine which way Bitcoin's price could potentially go next. So starting off here with support and resistance, currently we got rejected at that $28,000 area, right? We will need for this weekly candle to close above $28,000 by the end of the week for it to flip into a support. Now, but the other thing that we have here that's kind of bullish is that we broke above the downward trend line from last week's report. So now we broke above it. It was sitting at around $27,000, and now we've successfully retested it. So if we can stay above it, that might become a support trend line now, right? Moving on to the chart patterns. Of course, the main chart pattern remains, which is that double bottom pattern. It is still valid. A breakout above the neckline, which sits around $28,000, would give us a target of about $36,000 to $37,000. Now, remember, this is a weekly chart, meaning that this is not going to happen right off the rip, right? It probably won't happen this month or anything like that. It'll take a few months. This could be something that plays out over the span of quarter four. So we could potentially see this target as we end this year or as we go into 2024. Now, liquidity levels. The most immediate zone of liquidity is once again back at the lower levels, which is $26,000 and $25,000. This could point to the downside to the downside targets if the market were to move lower. And if we look at the liquidity levels here, in this liquidity map provided by High Block Capital, we can see the brighter yellow points on this map points to that downside, which is in that $26,000 range. So that's one piece of the puzzle, right? But it is something that I always like to look for when I'm trying to figure out which way the price might move next. Now, as far as imbalances, last week's move left big imbalances all the way down to $26,000. Now, 50% of that imbalance would be around $27,000, which we've pretty much already filled. And that's an important number to know, because prices typically like to fill at least 50% of the imbalances. So that's always something that I like to track. If we pull up the chart here, we can see on the weekly time frame here, this big candle here left this major imbalance, and that's something that I think I drew it somewhere here. Let me see. Here it is. So you can see that this is an imbalance that we left behind, and that goes all the way down to about $26,000. So if price were to retrace, now we have a potential target, because one, there's an imbalance. Two, there's liquidity. The biggest liquidity is down in that area as well. So that gives us two different reasons why we could potentially return to that $26,000 price. Moving on to wicks, we have a small wick to the downside where 50% of the wick is at $25.5 thousand. 100% of the wick would be at $25,000. Once again, these are important to track, and these are important to know, because price tends to retest these levels where there was liquidity left behind, because the price moved so quickly, right? So once again, if we look at the chart, we can see these big candlesticks here where we could potentially return to that level. So again, that gives us another reason why that could be we could potentially see at least one more move to the downside or retracement before potentially continuing up higher. So after kind of looking at all that, in conclusion, this analysis, and to remind you guys, this analysis overall was done on Monday. And if we look at the first chart here, we can see that I was pointing out that we had a deviation to the upside above the range highs to potentially trap the longs. So that's kind of when I did this analysis here, and when I concluded that the best play right now was probably, or during that time, was to short Bitcoin at $28,000. And that's exactly what ended up happening. As you can see, we got rejected at 28,000, and price moved as low as 27,000. So, to begin this analysis, I told you guys that my initial thoughts when I looked at the chart, I saw a setup that I like to take. It's usually a pretty simple setup where we have a breakout, you have a retest, and a continuation up. But after doing a deeper dive into the analysis and prices, it started to make more sense that price instead would probably and most likely be rejected and move down at that $28,000 level. So that's kind of how I've been playing it, right? And that's pretty much it as far as that. You guys can take a look at that. I put that up on Twitter, that entire thread there. And then now looking at this right now, we're basically at the same thing. Now, right now I'm looking at it on the daily time frame, and we can see that the range that Bitcoin's price has been trading at over basically since August, so over the last couple months. Now in September, the early September, we saw a deviation to the downside to trap liquidity and trap short traders, right? So people saw we were ranging between 25 all the way to 28. Then we broke down below 25 and went as low as 24,000. And that was a deviation to the downside, trapped a bunch of liquidity, and then look what happened with the price. It moved all the way back up to a high of 27,500, right? So we almost went all the way back up to 28,000. Then we kind of consolidated a bit, retested 26, 25 one more time, and then now went up higher. Now what happens here, this looks very, very similar to what happened down here. This could be potentially a deviation above range highs to trap some of that liquidity there. So now we could potentially see prices retrace a bit here. Maybe not all the way back down to 25,000, but we've already gone down to 27. I wouldn't be surprised if we test 26. So there's a lot of liquidity down there. So the way I'm playing it, if we get any more pushes to the upside to $28,000, I'm probably looking to short it for now, for the moment. I'm probably not looking to long until we get above maybe this Fibonacci level, which is sitting around $29,000. And then again, once we get there, we have a big resistance at 30,000. So for the meantime, I'm looking to short here at 28,000 in that range. For longs, I'm probably looking, I'll be waiting to around 26,000 for a long opportunity. So right now, I don't like any longs here in this area. I like longs. I like shorts more in this area. And to the downside, I'll be looking for longs if we do retrace further. I'll be looking for longs at that $26,000 and $25,000 range. So basically, that's how I'm playing this for the rest of this week and probably going into next week. Now, remember, going into next week, we have the next week we have, of course, the it's gonna come inflation rates, right? So we have that on Thursday, and that's gonna bring volatility into the market. So that could potentially be a catalyst in one direction or the other. We kind of got to be careful and kind of see what that does to prices. If we see that price gets potentially overextended in one direction or the other, then like we showed you guys, we could, just kind of take the opposite, a trade in the opposite direction, which is usually pretty successful, right? Again, if we look at what happened here with Bitcoin after this big move up, if you would have taken that move and opened the position into the opposite direction, you would have had a pretty successful move there. So, with that coming up next week, that's something that we'll be taking a look at. If there's an overreaction in one direction or the other, we'll be looking to open up either longs or shorts at that support or resistance level. So, Now, if you guys have any questions, if you guys want to ask me anything about anything that we've covered or anything going on right now in the market, drop it in the comments. If not, we'll go ahead and wrap things up. I see 300 Rivers is in here. Good afternoon, my brother. I appreciate you being in here. Appreciate you tuning in. As always, pleasure having you in here. Who else is in here? Let me know in the chat. I'm going to take a drink of water because I've been rambling on nonstop for half an hour at this point. I'm going to give you guys a chance to, if you have any questions for me. If not, we'll wrap things up here. Let's so if you guys are interested in this thread that I did, you guys can check me out on Twitter, Bitcoin X Daily. And also on Threads, I have the same thing up on there, Bitcoin.daily. So you guys can check that out. And it's basically, I'll be doing this probably once a week, posting it up here. One of the parts of the analysis. If you want this in-depth breakdown weekly, you guys can join the Discord channel. We do that on Mondays is when we release these. I might start up a newsletter. Let me know what you guys think about that. I might start up some sort of newsletter where I send these out weekly. And things like that. I think that'll be pretty cool. Yeah, let me know what you guys think about that. That might be a pretty good idea. But I don't see any questions coming in, so I'm gonna go ahead and wrap things up. Once again, I appreciate you guys tuning in to Let's Talk Crypto episode 28. We'll do our next one next week. I'm not sure exactly what day, but I'm trying to do it early on in the week so I can tell you, what to expect for the whole week. So hopefully on Monday, I'll be able to do it next week. Once again, this week, Monday and Tuesday was really jam-packed with a bunch of things going on, so I wasn't able to do it. But next week, I will try to do the live stream on Monday. I've also been thinking about potentially doing these kind of like early morning breakdowns on, kind of going live like at, let's say 9-10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, and just kind of looking over the market and not doing anything too long, but let's say like a 15-20 minute live stream where I just kind of take a look at the market, take a look at what's going on with price and what my thoughts are at that point, and what to look forward to for the rest of the day type thing. So I'm thinking of maybe incorporating something like that into the channel. I think that'll be kind of cool. It's something that I do every day, every morning, regardless. So been thinking about that. I see 100 deaths in here. What's going on, my brother? Haven't seen you in a bit. He says, will Bitcoin ever actually go back up like it was in 2020? Yeah, 100%. You just got to be a little patient, but we're getting there. Right now, we're basically at the tail end of the bear market. And I'm expecting 2024, as the halving approaches, for Bitcoin's price to really start to take off. And towards the end of 2024 is when I think we could see Bitcoin's prices being at, potentially $50,000, $60,000 once again. 2025, I could potentially see Bitcoin's set up new all-time highs at that point, potentially in the range of $100,000. So yeah, I think 100% we're gonna see that at some point in the next 1 to 2 years. So I know it's tough to have to wait 1 to 2 years. It sucks, but we're almost there, guys. It's been a slow time in crypto, but I think we're getting there. Bitcoin's price has been holding up very, 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 very strong here, and there's a lot of bullish things that are coming up. The Bitcoin halving, of course, coming up in 195 days, which is the most bullish event in crypto. We have the interest rate cuts. It's eventually going to happen, right? That's expected in around mid 2024, towards the end of 2024. And then just those two events alone should be really big for crypto. Then we add on ETFs. Guys, the spot Bitcoin ETFs are going to come. It's only a matter of time, right? So that's eventually going to happen. Once that happens, a lot more institutional money is going to come into the market, which should bring just the overall crypto value up overall. So with those three things, I think Bitcoin could 100% hit $100,000 and beyond at that point. So I think you just got to hang on tight a little bit longer, continue to dollar cost average during any dips. This year has been probably the best dollar cost average year ever. Price has basically consolidated for long stretches of time. We had a dip all the way down to, what was it, like around $15,000. And then we were at $18,000 to $20,000 for a while. That was a perfect buying opportunity, right? Then we've kind of been hanging around $20,000 to $28,000 for a while now. Again, great buying opportunities, right? And altcoins as well. They've been very, very cheap. We have things like Solana at $23 that could potentially, Solana used to be over $100, over I think $200, right? We have Ethereum still sitting at 1641. Guys, Ethereum was at $4,000. It was over $4,000 a few years ago, and I think it has a potential to hit $10,000 in the next 2 years. That's basically a 10x from where price is right now. AVAX is at $10. AVAX was over $100 a couple years ago. I think that could happen again. XRP sitting at 53 cents. We're already seeing XRP is probably going to win its case, its trial. It's already winning some of the things going on there. We've gotten some big news here, and this could potentially go to, I wouldn't be surprised for this to go to $3, $4, $5 in the next 2 years. There's a lot of things just like this. We have Cardano. It's at 25 cents. It was at $3 at one point. Matic is at 56 cents. It was at $2 or beyond at one point. So there's a lot of opportunity in the market right now. So this is a perfect time to just kind of dollar cost average. Is what I always recommend. Just weekly is the way I do it. Weekly, I put a little bit of money into all my favorite projects and don't look at it, right? Every single week when the price goes down, put a little bit of money into my favorite projects, and that's it. So that's what I recommend. Any extra change that you have, even if it's $10 a week or something like that, it's gonna be worth it because it's going to add up over the year. So, and then before you know it, prices are gonna start taking off, and then you'll be able to start taking some profits. So just gotta be a little patient, guys. 100 Deaths says, gotta be patient in this space. A lot of naysayers out there when it's quiet. Yeah, 100%. There's always a lot of FUD, a lot of people trying to manipulate prices as well. And because a lot of institutions are trying to get in, and they want to get in at cheaper prices. So, they're going to put out FUD. So be careful with that. Ducky Dave, what's going on, man? Great to see you in here again. Ducky Dave says, I have most of my funds in my Coinbase wallet. If Coinbase were to go through a FTX type drama, would my funds be safe? So I do think that Coinbase is probably one of the safer places to have funds, because they are a publicly traded company, right? So they have to have a lot of they have to basically go by the law. They have to be by the book. Unlike FTX, that was offshore. They were like in the Bahamas, and they were just they were doing all sorts of shady things that nobody was able to know because there's no transparency. When you're a publicly traded company, you need to be transparent about everything you do, because there's a board that you need to report to, right? So everything has to be by the book and by law. If not, the SEC will be coming after them. Their stocks will tank, all that stuff, right? So it is. I don't think there would ever be a FTX type of situation on Coinbase, because they're set up legally by the law and completely different, and they're set up in the United States, right? So there's a lot of laws that they have to abide by. So although with all that said, I still do think that the best way to keep your funds is, in a cold storage, right? In a cold wallet. That's going to be the safest thing. If you don't have a cold wallet, then the next best thing is probably to don't have all your funds in one wallet, right? Just kind of diversify it into different spots. But overall, I think Coinbase would be the safest place to have your funds. I think another safe one is Gemini. Gemini also in the United States, right? They're by the book, by the law. It's in crypto. It's safe for crypto, right? Those are probably the two safest exchanges that I would say overall in the market right now to have if you're going to keep your funds on an exchange. So yeah, appreciate the questions, guys. I am going to go ahead and wrap it up here. I'll see you guys on the next one. If you guys have any questions, drop it in the comments. I'll put this up live on Spotify as well if you want to listen to it on the podcast if you missed any of it. So thank you guys for tuning in. I'll see you guys on the next one. As always, peace and love.